What if Avatar Kyoshi trained Anakin Skywalker? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. Anakin gasps as his mother takes him by the hand and hurriedly leads him through the chaos. They push through the crowds as blaster fire whizzes above them. They find some quick cover in a nearby alleyway as some thugs fire at a nearby street. But they are quickly thrown aside by a gust of sand. Around them, he hears the sound of fighting and screaming from the streets. It is a sound that isn't altogether unfamiliar on Tatooine, but this time it is different. While he can't see anything, he can tell the fighting isn't going the criminal's way. He risks a glance out the side of the alley while his mother protests and is nearly struck by a whip of water. Instead, it hits a gamorian behind him, brandishing an axe. It flies out from a dust bowl hovering from a nearby street. From that dust bowl steps out a woman, though she looks more like a god of war. She is dressed head to toe in green, with blood-red makeup around her eyes, while the rest of her face is painted white. It makes her look like a demon, just as she strikes. Rather than use blasters, she wields a pair of fans and moves almost like she's dancing. But whenever she moves, the elements move with her. Whether it is jets of fire, bursts of water, miniature sandstorms, or gusts of wind, it is as if Tatooine is fighting with her. Soon the criminals decide to surrender, dropping their weapons. The criminal boss comes out and offers terms. Kyoshi's is simple: the release of all slaves in the city. The head enforcer quickly agrees to surrender as soon as Anakin and his mother find themselves being led out to their hideout. A small town several miles away, inhabited by freedom fighters and freed slaves. As they march inside, Anakin lingers and stares at Kyoshi.
I want you to teach me what you did. I want to help free slaves as well, and be a hero.
I'm no hero. I would like that, but no one can do what I do.
She's about to offer a kind word and a firm dismissal, but her voice trails off as she stares at him and recognizes something she didn't notice before. A spark of power seeps out from the boy, but as she looks closer, she senses an ocean of chi underneath him, more powerful than anyone she's ever met, even more than Lao Gi and Yun. Suddenly, she stops and glances down at him.
I might not be able to train you to do the same things I do, but I can teach you to fight. Are you okay with that?
As long as I get to learn how to fight.
As training begins, she leads Anakin to an isolated cliffside outside of the town, where the two stand. She says this is where they will train and learn to harness the elements.
Here? But there's nothing here.
Perhaps to most people. But to a bender, everything we need is right here. Our methods are old and primal. We harness the elements with our power. I'm not sure if such a thing can be taught, but I will try.
Kyoshi takes Anakin there to learn and study, meditating to feel the elements around them. Every gust of wind, the heat from the sun, every sand at their feet. She tells Anakin to feel the energy around them through meditation and breathing exercises. She shows him the stances and movements she uses to harness her powers, and while Anakin can copy these seamlessly, it is another matter to use the powers. He can never harness them to the same level as Kyoshi. Anakin can lift the sand and move the water, but he can't match his master's raw power. Helping them is a younger airbender named Jinpa, who is one of Kyoshi's companions who spends time with the Jedi. He shows him some Jedi techniques the Jedi use to harness the Force to help them strengthen Anakin's connections with the elements by reaching into the midichlorians within them. Seeing his success, the other benders help him hone his skills, including Kyoshi's companions, the famous flying opera company. The airbender, Rangi, instills in Anakin discipline and caution when using fire to prevent him from hurting himself. Wong and Lek help Anakin with his earthbending, showing him how to harness it in creative ways to overcome his opponents. Jinpa uses his meditations and helps him manipulate the air around them, while Karima shows how to turn water into a deadly weapon and to perfect his movements. But his greatest lessons come in the form of Lao Gi and the immortal assassin Kyoshi herself. The former serves as a spiritual advisor for the pair, teaching them about philosophy and the spirits, similar to the Jedi beliefs on attachment. But his teachings are radically different, believing that humans can only be free if they are unfettered themselves from others, not caring what others or society deems acceptable, and simply doing what they believe is right. While neither fully believes in his ideas, Kyoshi takes some ideas to heart, especially when it comes to pursuing justice. She teaches Anakin that justice is what matters most in the world, and that they must do whatever it takes to achieve it. But she doesn't stop at teaching Anakin philosophy and meditation. As the Avatar, she is the only person capable of wielding the elements to their fullest effect. That doesn't stop her from sharing her techniques with Anakin, showing him how to use them effectively. She shows Anakin how to combine the powers of his different masters and how to turn them into effective fighting styles. To this end, she gifts Anakin with his weapon, a pair of Beskar war fans to help amplify his abilities. He soon puts these weapons to good use as Kyoshi takes him on her next raids. These are meant to deal with pirates, smugglers, and other criminals running rampant on Tatooine. With the Republic either indifferent or fearful of intervening, her band is the only one willing to help people, and they make sure Anakin realizes this. They storm through warehouses filled with illegal substances and burn them to the ground, free captured slaves, and overthrow warlords oppressing towns. It doesn't matter if they are Tuskens, gangsters, or pirates. They are all targets to Kyoshi, often called the Lady of Justice by her supporters. But the most important thing she teaches Anakin is to kill. With how many gangsters and how ruthless they are, she makes it clear that it is kill or be killed. Anakin takes it to heart, using his experience as a slave to fuel the sense of justice in him, allowing him to channel his darkness instead of bottling it up. For years, he hones his skills alongside his new companions, making a name for himself across the barren planet. However, for every criminal they kill, it seems like there is another one ready to take their place, especially as the largest criminals like Jabba the Hutt continue to run rampant. Seeing this, Kyoshi decides it's time for something new. Atop her flying bison Peng Peng, she flies them towards Jabba's palace.
This isn't just about Jabba. It's about sending a message. Justice has no borders. It doesn't care if you are the highest of lords or the lowest of peasants. Jabba is a criminal.
Kyoshi, I understand the need for justice, but we need to think carefully. He's a Republic ally. If we act now, the Republic could retaliate.
The Republic's been happy to ignore us for years. Maybe getting their attention is long overdue. Jabba's crimes can't go unpunished. The Republic shouldn't be protecting someone like him.
The Abider's opinion doesn't matter. If they want to play with us, they better know the consequences.
But as they approach, the guards begin to look up in surprise, pointing at the strange sight of a flying bison approaching. Their surprise quickly turns into fear as she lands in front of them, her tail slamming down and picking up a sandstorm that throws them aside. The rest of the Flying Opera Company leaps into the fray, water, earth, fire, and air blasting around them as guards counter with blasters. However, even these advanced weapons are useless against the powers of the elements. Rangi unleashes precise blasts of fire to neutralize the palace turrets, while Wong and Lek raise stone barriers to shield the team from incoming blaster fire. Anakin takes the lead, scattering them with a burst of fire, letting Lek and Lao Gi pick off the attackers. Meanwhile, Wong barrels through the largest foes, while Jinpa and Karima immobilize gangsters. The guards hurriedly try to shut the doors, but Kyoshi plants her feet on the ground and raises her hand. Suddenly, the gates stop moving as she holds it in place. A moment later, she rips it off its mechanisms and smashes it through the hangar, breaking dozens of starfighters that were being prepped. Kyoshi and Anakin take the lead, splitting off from the group as Rangi leads the rest of the team to free the slaves. The pair makes their way to Jabba's throne room. Guards desperately reach for their blasters, but Kyoshi and Anakin spin and unleash bursts of earth that throw guards off their feet. The few shots they do fire are dissipated by their blaster bolts. Jabba's translator droid waddles out and raises his hands.
Greetings, honored visitors. The mighty Jabba offers you riches beyond imagination. Name your price, and you can walk away wealthy beyond.
Kyoshi doesn't even let him finish and shatters him apart with a sharp motion of her fan. A deadly silence falls over the group.
Tell Jabba that his time is up.
Jabba roars in outrage, his tail thrashing in incomprehensible Huttese. Kyoshi cuts him off, her fan slicing through the air as she steps closer.
The Republic does not decide justice. You do not decide justice. The people you've enslaved and exploited do. Today, we are their voice.
Kyoshi stomps her foot, and a hole appears under Jabba while Anakin uses the Force to pull him into it. The Hutt lets out a final guttural scream as he plummets into the Rancor pit. His screams echo across the pit as he's devoured by the beast. The team begins taking over Jabba's operations, freeing his captives and ensuring his wealth is distributed to those he oppressed. Anakin watches Kyoshi, admiration flickering in his eyes. But while this was initially a success, the Republic is not pleased to see one of their greatest allies eliminated. The rest of the Hutt families are furious at this attack on one of their own and demand the Republic intervene for continued access to their hyperspace lanes. In response, the Republic orders the arrest of the Flying Opera Company. However, Kyoshi and Anakin remain defiant, seeing that on Tatooine they don't recognize the authority of the Abiders. Instead, they begin doing what they can for the planet. The land and wealth are slowly redistributed to the people, who are encouraged to start new lives for themselves. However, Tatooine is not rich, nor does it have any valuable resources, making state building difficult. Anakin realizes that they must take more drastic action to restore order. The former gangsters and smugglers are offered a choice, to spend their time in prison or to work for them now. Their job is to provide weapons, supplies, and equipment to the people of Tatooine so they can start restoring their nation. Just in time, too, as border skirmishes between the Republic break out, who probe into their world. Knowing they can't win this fight, the Flying Opera Company decides to instead lead the Republic away. While Lao Gi and Jimpa run things on Tatooine, the rest of the Flying Opera Company decide to travel across the rest of the Outer Rim to help the other planets there. All across the galaxy, criminals take heed of their brutal but efficient system of justice, Anakin and Kyoshi winning them the ire of the Republic and CIS. As they are concerned with the well-being of the people, they make no differentiation with the exploitative CIS or the corrupt Republic, and members from both sides face their wrath. The only thing that saves them from execution are local leaders and the people who are grateful for their aid and shelter. The small group travels from place to place, never staying anywhere for a long time. But now it isn't just criminals and syndicates they face, but Jedi and bounty hunters. During their journeys, Anakin comes into his own as an exceptional warrior. Many Jedi fall before him over the years, and he becomes a folk legend alongside Kyoshi, with their story spreading across the galaxy. Even planets as far off as Dathomir hear about them, and they are invited to meet with Mother Talzin. They find her waiting for them on the outskirts of the jungle. She is surrounded by her Night Sisters, with more hidden in the shadows, ready to draw their weapons. Talzin spreads her arms out and smiles.
Greetings, young ones. I have been expecting you. There is so much to discuss.
And little time to do it. All due respect, Mother. We have much work to do.
And what fine work you have been doing, cleansing the galaxy of this filth. That is why I am here to aid in your mission.
You? What do you have to gain from this?
Believe it or not, I was once wronged by a power greater than me, and I wish to see that fixed. That is why you do such as with Jabba the Hutt. In exchange for helping me, I will ensure you can do the same for the greatest criminal of them all, the Sith Lord who started this war. But before that, you must help me defeat another foe. Count Dooku.
Count Dooku? Are you insane?
The leader of the Clanker army? You don't start small, do you? Look, lady, we're good. But we're not that good.
Rest assured, child. I shall ensure you have every advantage you need to accomplish this task. Now, do we have a deal?
Very well. I'm in.
So am I.
Soon the group departs Dathomir, but finds some extra help. Ventress, who will act as their guide.
This is a bold plan. Few have lived to challenge Count Dooku in his fortress. But with me guiding you, you might stand a chance.
We don't need luck. We need precision. If you have a way in, lead on.
Follow me then. The Count isn't expecting guests, but I do know a way in. Let's make sure this visit is memorable.
The team moves swiftly under the cover of darkness, Ventress in front, followed closely by Kyoshi and Rangi, and Anakin close behind. Lek, Karima, and Wong trail behind further, using their bending to silence their approach, manipulating the earth and water to muffle the sounds. Ventress leads them through a hidden tunnel beneath the fortress, knowing every turn and patrol that gets in their way. Soon enough, they find themselves in the Grand Hall, its shadowy expanse illuminated by flickering torches. At the far end, Count Dooku sits on a chair as he eats his supper. Kyoshi lifts a large boulder from the wall and hurls it straight towards him, but at the last second, the Count moves out of the way. She leaps down to face him.
You've wronged too many people, Dooku. It's time for your reckoning.
And this is justice. The kind you can't talk your way out of. Justice? No. This is foolishness. But I suppose it's only fair I humor you.
He ignites his lightsaber just as the others leap at him. The water from his pitcher explodes and lashes at him, but Dooku sidesteps the attack. When it comes whirling out, he deflects it with his lightsaber, evaporating it. Right after, several bullet-sized rocks whirl at him and force him to spin around, followed by a large boulder by Wong. He raises his lightsaber and cuts them apart. Growling, Rangi and Anakin combine their firebending, creating a storm of flames that surge toward Dooku. The Sith Lord takes a deep breath and throws a massive wave of force energy, dissipating the fire. Kyoshi follows up, sending a wave of air hurtling toward Dooku, forcing the Count to zip back and forth, countering with a burst of force lightning that shatters the rocks in midair. Lek and Wong join the fray, manipulating the fragments to trap Dooku's legs in a cocoon of stone. But with a powerful force push, the Count breaks free, sending them tumbling. Ventress's red blades spin in deadly dances as she leaps at him. Anakin is close behind, his fans lashing out at him, trying to stab at his legs, but Dooku avoids each attack with the same elegance of his youth. Ventress manages to score a minor wound on his leg, but Dooku kicks her aside. Anakin takes his place, slashing his fans at him. However, the short reach of his weapon puts him at a disadvantage, especially once Dooku unleashes a ferocious counterattack. When he brings his lightsaber down, Anakin crosses his fans and barely keeps him back. Kyoshi moves to flank him. With a fluid motion, she combines water and air to create a slicing whip of ice that forces Dooku to split his attention. Anakin seizes the opening, charging in with his war fans ablaze. Dooku blocks Anakin's attack, but Kyoshi's whip catches him off guard, grazing his side. Breathing heavily, Dooku raises a hand, sending a wave of force lightning toward the group. Kyoshi plants her feet firmly, and suddenly a burst of ground explodes above them to create a wall. Lek and Wong summon it from the ground, which explodes all around them. But the rubble doesn't fall on the ground as Kyoshi and Anakin redirect it toward Dooku. The Count screams as the rocks bury him, and he drops to the ground. He stumbles to his seat and slumps over, letting Ventress finish him off. Kyoshi reaches for her holodisc and contacts Talzin.
It's done. He's dead. Now it's time to uphold your half of the bargain.
Very well. The man you search for is none other than Palpatine, Chancellor of the Republic.
Do we look like we were born yesterday? You truly expect us to believe that the head abider himself is the Sith Lord?
I expect you to believe nothing. Even now, my daughter is gathering the evidence you need. Use this information however you want.
Soon enough, Ventress and Rangi return with a data rod. Once they are safe, they begin going through the information. Their eyes widen as they see the hidden communications, secret commands, and the transactions that Palpatine has made over the years, all in collaboration with Dooku. Everything Talzin said is true. That means the great mastermind, the worst criminal in the galaxy, is none other than the Chancellor.
This is it. This is the proof we need to expose him. We can bring this to the Senate, to the Jedi. They'll have to act.
And then what? The Jedi? The Senate? They've already let this happen. They're part of the system that enabled him to rise. Do you think they'll do anything now?
Anakin, we can't act rashly. If we go to the authorities, we might be able to force the galaxy to see the truth.
Kyoshi, you've seen how corrupt they are.
How many lives have been lost because of their inaction? It's as Lao Gi says, we need to act.
Lao Gi is half mad. And what happens if you fail? The galaxy will fall further into chaos.
Kyoshi, you taught me about justice. Real justice. You taught me that sometimes we have to act, no matter the cost, and how there can only be peace if there is justice.
You know this will get us killed. I'm starting to think I trained you too well.
The small group drops Ventress back on Dathomir before making their way to Coruscant, where they are joined by Lao Gi and Jinpa. The first group lands in the main hangar of the Senate building, where a squad of Coruscant guard await them. Rather than slow down, they rush up ahead. The guards take aim, but as they fire, tiny pillars of water, fire, and earth appear at the group's feet and propel them up to avoid their shots. The flying opera company dust steps over the group, allowing Jinpa to shove Lao Gi where the immortal assassin gets to work, blades flashing as he cuts through throats. Amidst the chaos, the rest of them unleash their bending. Meanwhile, Anakin and Kyoshi take Peng Peng directly toward the Chancellor's office, where they smash through the windows.
Your time is up, Palpatine. The galaxy will be freed of you.
So, at last we meet the great Avatar herself and the Chosen One. Truly, I am honored to confront the pair. But do you truly believe you can stand against me? Against the power of the dark side?
Time to find out. His fans ignite with a burst of fire, but the Chancellor crouches under his desk and pushes it forward. Kyoshi stomps her foot down and smashes it to splinters just as she rushes forward. Her fans flash and spark against Palpatine's lightsaber. Anakin hurries forward and summons water from his drinking skin and lashes it around Palpatine's leg. Before he can evaporate it, Anakin chills it into ice. When the Chancellor moves to break it, Kyoshi comes in, smashing her fist into him. Blood flows from Palpatine's nose, but Anakin uses the Force to push it back up to his face, nearly choking him and giving Kyoshi a chance to sweep his leg. When she closes in for the kill, lightning flashes across Kyoshi's chest and throws her back. Anakin rushes to help, but Palpatine is rushing towards him. He sidesteps his fire blast and grabs Anakin's arm to redirect it. He quickly stops the attack when it nearly burns Kyoshi. Once the fire dissipates, Palpatine stabs at him, but Anakin catches it with his fan. This allows Palpatine to let out a shriek that forces Anakin to cover his ears. Palpatine tries to slash at him, but Anakin pushes himself against Palpatine and slides against the ground.
You got a foul mouth, but so do I.
Anakin opens his mouth and a burst of fire comes rushing out. Laughing, Palpatine raises his hands and begins to move the flames around himself like a fiery wreath. He then directs it towards Kyoshi. Though she's just starting to get up, Kyoshi slams her fans together and dissipates the flames. She then twitches her fingers and whirls around towards the furniture around them. The paint from Palpatine's artwork, the masonry from Palpatine's urns and pots, along with the masonry from his statues, all of those crumble to their base elements, and now she slings them at him. Her movements are fast and strong, putting Palpatine on the defensive as he tries to slash and block the attacks. Even his counterattack of throwing furniture at her barely phases Kyoshi, who pushes him back towards the ledge. Anakin takes this cue and unleashes a burst of air that sends Palpatine flying through the window. But he suddenly feels himself being yanked out as Palpatine summons the Force to drag him out with him. Anakin screams as he tumbles into the Coruscant sky, though a few seconds later he feels a hand grab him. Kyoshi hovers in the air, a whirlwind around her feet as her eyes glow a brilliant white. Palpatine catches himself against a wall a few stories down. Peng Peng appears from below and catches Anakin as Kyoshi rushes towards the Emperor. Anakin fires several whips of water that force Palpatine to abandon his ledge and throw himself at her. His lightsaber flashes and lightning explodes from his hands, knocking Kyoshi off balance, though her fans deflect most of the damage. The two collide in midair, grappling as they fall while Anakin takes the reins and rushes after them. Palpatine's lightsaber slashes across her side, but a burst of air from Anakin sends it flying out of his hands. Kyoshi takes this chance and wraps her fingers around his throat, while a second hand presses against his heart. The Chancellor's eyes go wide as his blood runs cold, quite literally. Kyoshi's face forms a grim line as she freezes the blood and water that flows through him. In a matter of seconds, Palpatine's body goes stiff, and Kyoshi uses it to launch herself into the air, right into Peng Peng's saddle. They watch his body disappear below as they return to the rest of the Flying Opera Company, who find themselves surrounded as reinforcements arrive, including several Jedi. At their head is Mace Windu, but before he can order a charge, Kyoshi leaps between them and throws a disc to the ground. The information within this is enough proof to show Palpatine's collaboration with the Sith. The Republic is shaken to its very core, not only because of this revelation, but also because a band of criminals are the ones to discover it. As their reward, their terms are simple. The Republic pardons the Flying Opera Company and gives them free rein to operate in the Outer Rim. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.